Hi everyone, this is Dana Nickerson from Noetic Data. I'm going to take you through a 5-minute demo highlighting some of the things that we talked about at the ACE conference. The first thing I want to do is show you the difference between a good search and a bad search. I'm going to type in element here. Essentially what I'm looking for is a coil element for a cooktop. When I search on that, I can actually see that there's quite a few elements here, but it's very difficult for me to tell the element that I'm really looking for. There's not very much information. And if I click on one of these, how am I going to select an element that has the right wattage and the right voltage? So I'm going to do this again. I'm going to search on an element, but this time you'll notice over the left-hand side that I'm going to click on More, and I'll be able to see that there are several different kinds of elements here, but the one I'm interested in is a coil element. And there's 41 of these. You can see that there's a lot more detailed data. There's some really good data here about the wattage and the voltage and the coil size and so on and so forth. So I can actually page through this and find the one that I'm really looking for. But even easier than that, I can select on the number of coils, and I can see this narrows down the list to about 17. Now I'm starting to get into the ballpark. I can actually then select on the support type, which is delta, and now this has narrowed my list down to only about 3. Then what I can do is actually see how these compare with each other by selecting compare. And then when I see them lined up against each other, it's much easier for me to see all of the different variations that occur, and I can see the actual attribute values. In a few minutes, I'm going to show you how this data is actually produced. But first, I want to show you a little bit of an analysis that we could do. So one of the things we could do here is type in the word bulb. And when I see the number of bulbs that I have, there's quite a few of them, and they're in various categories. There's about 25. But what I really want to show you is what a report might look like if these incandescent bulbs were plotted by wattage and cost. And when I have this plot of wattage and cost, I can see how much it costs for a specific value of an attribute. This is a very useful analysis if I want to do things like material cost reduction, for example, particularly if I'm a procurement person. The next thing I want to show you is how we get this good data. This is the Noetic Data tool, which sits on top of the Aras PLM system. I've opened up the classification tool, and I've started to browse down the category. You can see I've clicked on items here, and there's a set of attributes that I've defined at the item level. And then if I click further down into the next node, let's say I click on electrical, I can see that another set of attributes come up, and I've added 3 additional attributes at this level here: voltage, wattage, and amperage. Now these attributes inherit down the classification tree all the way down to where I have elements and surface elements, and the next thing I'm going to select on is coil elements. You can see down below here that there's a red area. These are all my attributes that I've assigned at the coil. You can see down here that there's a red line. That red line indicates that another person is actually working on that classification category. This is what we call collaborative classification. This is extremely useful when you're building a classification structure so that everybody is on the same page, but yet they're not stepping on each other. You can see here I just selected to a new window. I can select on the radiant category now. I go back to my original window. I can now see that radiant is highlighted and that Sunil is working on that. That's a really great feature to be able to keep people out of each other's way, but at the same time not get in each other's individual way when you develop in a classification structure. And again, we call it collaborative classification. A couple of other really key features is the ability to add reference documents for categories, the ability to add team members so that you can define a light workflow about who should approve various aspects of categories. And you can see here I'm going to look for the person called Sunil. I'm going to click on him. I'm going to add him to the selected category here. You can also see that I can add a role, which I'll do here. I'll make him approver. I'm actually not going to save on this because this is a live this is a live system, and I don't want to change their approvers at this point in time. You can also see that I can put comments on here so I can keep track of the decisions that are made for each one of the classification structure. That's a very, very useful feature when you're going back and trying to decide why a classification node was built and why it might be separated from other nodes. And you can see here I just added a note here to separate this category into multiple categories. That comment would be viewable to everybody on the team. And lastly, I can define rules. Rules are a very useful feature to be able to define an automated development of descriptions, so automated description development. So that's it for kind of our little discussion here. If you have any questions, by all means, get in touch with me.